It is Saturday, so we'll get started on time to make sure we give you all back your afternoon. But thank you for joining us. I did this on a Saturday because I know for some of you, you might be back at school already, or maybe next week starts it. Some of you might still have another month of time off. There's never a good time with as many clients and schools as we have with snow. So I figured just Saturday at noon. Hopefully, if you have the time and you want to be here, you will be able to make it. So this is our webinar, Navigating Your First Years as an Advisor for a high school journalism program. We'll be talking a little bit about yearbook, newspaper, websites, just kind of the general advising thing. My name's Kyle Phillips. A little bit of background about me. I've been with Snow as an education and training specialist for 4 years. Before I worked for Snow, I was a high school journalism, newspaper, news website, yearbook advisor in Iowa at Cedar Rapids, Washington High School. So basically, you're going to be getting all of the different things that I've absorbed over my years in the field here. Hopefully, you will find it helpful, whether you're a new advisor still in your first few years, or maybe you're a mentor just looking to get some tips and things you can take to your mentees. So we'll go ahead and jump in here. So with the webinar, everybody is going to be muted there, but I will do my best to keep an eye on the chat. I've got that going on my other monitor here. So if you have a question, drop it in there and I will do my best to answer. We had 70 people register for this webinar. Looks like, as I'm sure you're all aware with how these things go. We've got about 20 people here right now. I'm sure some will come and go during our time together. But again, if you have questions, I will do my best to answer those in the chat. You can download a copy of this slideshow at snow.buzz/new advisor, capital N, capital A, advisor spelled with an ER as is AP style. And all these Snow Buzz links that I'm sharing here, they are case sensitive. So just kind of be aware of that. So if you would like to have this, as you can see, I will have some helpful links embedded in this slideshow. So if you would like access, that's how you can gain access to that. I am recording the webinar here and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel sometime next week. And so snow.buzz/YouTube, capital Y, capital T, if you want to check that out later, or even check out the other videos that we've got on our YouTube channel. I know many of you who signed up are already with Snow, and thank you for that. If you are not and you're thinking about starting a website or just want to know a little bit more about Snow and how it works, you can book a sales demo with us at Snow Sites, and Snow is spelled SNO, snowsites.com/book a demo. Just like a 30-minute meeting, we'll be able to answer your questions, kind of show you how things work on the back end of our websites here. And then if you're interested in learning any more about like Snow's Site Booster add-ons, which are just some extra tools that we have that you can build onto your site, site that we offer there is features.snowdemo.com. So that's enough about that. Let's get into the reason you're actually here. And that is just some information to hopefully help make your life a little bit easier as an advisor. So I'm going to start off with just some organizations and connections that you might find to be helpful. And I'd say the number one, and the reason it's at the top of my list, is your state's high school press association, if they have one. They're typically, if they're large enough, going to offer localized conventions, some professional development opportunities, a chance to get involved with an organization. If that's what you're looking for, they're going to have contests, just a wide variety of things. Again, it's going to vary state by state. And if you don't know if your state has one of these, I would see if you can check in with some colleagues who are also doing journalism at nearby schools. And if you do have one, they can hopefully point you in the right direction. Again, before I worked for Snow, I spent some time in Iowa. And so the Iowa High School Press Association here, they offer like monthly photo and story contests. They have a fall conference they host every year. In their resources tab here, they've got an advisor helpline. They do a fall yearbook contest and a spring newspaper and news website contest. So again, every state's going to be different, but just from where I came from in Iowa, the state convention offered a ton of information there. So that would be my number one recommendation of where to start in terms of organizations that are going to be able to help you, because not only do they have that wealth of resources, they're state specific, so they can hopefully put you in touch with other folks who are in your general area who are doing the same thing you are. The next few are national level organizations. They're kind of the biggies in the world of high school scholastic media: Journalism Education Association, the National Scholastic Press Association, and the Columbia Scholastic Press Association. So JEA and NSPA actually work together to host two national conventions every year, one in the fall and one in the spring. JEA on their own, they have a mentorship that's available, a mentorship program. So if you're looking for somebody to kind of guide you, if you're new in this field of scholastic journalism, JEA can hopefully help you with that. They also have an online forum that's very active. You can go where you can go to ask questions and get feedback from people who've been doing this a long time and have a lot of great information that they are more than happy to share. NSPA, they are the coordinators of the Pacemaker National Contest, which is one of the highest honors that is awarded for kind of whole publication recognitions. They do pacemakers for print newspaper publications as well as entire websites. And so if you were interested in submitting your publications for anything at the national level, that's one of the big ones. Columbia Scholastic Press Association, they also have some national programs that you can submit your kind of entire publications to, and then they award gold and silver crown recognition. CSPA also hosts an annual national conference. I think theirs is usually in March, so kind of early spring. And theirs is always in New York at the Columbia University campus. So any of you who are in the Northeast, that can be a great place to, a great organization that's going to put you in the general area. They also have a summer workshop they do every year. CSPA does. NSPA also offers a summer workshop, and NSPA is offering a fall workshop this year too in Minneapolis. So again, these are all great organizations that you can just do some research on your own, see what might be a good fit for you. I've linked out to their home pages on this slideshow. If you came in late and missed it, there is a short link to get to this slideshow, and I'll share it again at the end of our presentation today. Other places where you can form connections or some organizational things here. We have a Snow Customers Facebook group. So if you are a Snow customer, you can search for it here. It's called Snow Sites Journalism Exchange. This is what it looks like. So it's just a private community face. So if you're still on Facebook at all, you can post to the discussion board if you have any questions. Doesn't have to be snow specific. It can also be about just journalism in general, but snow, we've got a wide client base here. So there's a lot of high schools on there. There's some middle schools, colleges, and we're also getting some community news websites in there. So it is a broad range of experts that you can kind of touch base with there in that journalism exchange group. So if you're still on Facebook and aren't already part of it, if you're a Snow client, definitely send a request to join us there. We'd love to have you. There's another closed group that's just called the just Journalism Teachers. You can search for that on Facebook. Again, you'll have to request to join, but once you do, that is just high school journalism teachers, hundreds of members in there. So again, if you're looking for answers to a question, you can post it there, and you'll usually get a lot of assistance and feeding and some feedback on that. So with middle school, I would say JEA, you might touch base with them and see if they have some stuff that's specific to middle school. I don't know, unfortunately, if there are enough middle school journalism programs out there that there's a dedicated group just for that. But I think JEA has a handful of middle schools that are in their membership ranks. So that would be my recommended starting place for a national organization there. The last one I'll talk talk about here is Quill and Scroll. If you've never heard of them, they are the National Honor Society for High School Journalists. They are based in the same office as NSPA, but they are a separate organization. And basically, it's just, if your students meet a certain GPA requirement and then some other requirements, you can submit them for enrollment into this program. And then you can also purchase graduation cords. So if you are like my high school was, where everybody wants to see how many cords and sashes and badges and whatnot they could gather for graduation, Quill and Scroll offers an honor badge if you are a member of that organization. But just kind of a National Honor Society specifically for high school journalists. They also offer some uh, some contests specifically for Quill and Scroll. Thank you for looking that up, Sydney. That's very helpful. All right. So now I'm going to get into some specific things here with depending on what type of publication or what medium you're advising. So we'll start with the website. I'm with Snow Sites, so that's what I know the most about. And again, if you are with Snow, we have a ton of great support articles on our support page here. So, well, I got away from that, but let's see. You'll see this if you go to support.snowsites.com. Our website help guide has, I think, 14 different categories with varying articles. And then a lot of these articles contain video as well as written instruction. So that is a great place to help you out as you're starting out with Snow, or if you want to just get a refresher on something. Also with Snow, with just your base level hosting fee, you have unlimited ticketing. We have Lindsay, who's our support specialist, and she is in the office Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. And usually, if you send a ticket in during those business hours, you'll hear back in under an hour. She is super fast and super helpful, and you can send as many tickets as you need to. We are here to help you. If you are using a website that is not with Snow, then it's kind of on you to see if you have a dedicated contact through your theme or through your hosting platform that can answer those questions for you. Depending on how much, if you're paying for it, you may or may not find you've got whatever level of support available. It's kind of on you to check that out. But if you can find some resources there, either on YouTube or perhaps, again, the theme or platform you're working with has some resources like Snow does, then that would be, worth your time, taking a little bit of time to learn those basics. So then you can help your students and teach them, and then they can hopefully kind of learn for themselves and grow from there. Those of you who are still doing print, newspaper, or news magazine, determine what software you're going to have access to when you're building out that print publication. Back when I was advising, InDesign was kind of the industry standard with Adobe, and you had to have a subscription now to have Adobe renewed every year for those various softwares that they provide. And so, again, that is definitely the one that is out there that I think most people are using. And there's a ton of great YouTube videos and things like that. People love to share information about those tools. I know some people have shifted away from Adobe and are using other platforms. I think I've heard some people say they're using Canva to design these days, which is possible. You just have to be really good at Canva to know how to do some of the things that InDesign can do. But certainly, if you're looking to just make a simple publication, that would be a probably lower cost alternative. But you might also check with, if you don't know what you're using, check with your school administration and see if there's anybody in the building or if the district has that Adobe license that they're using. Because again, that's kind of the industry standard. It's still what's being used at the professional levels. And in terms of teaching students software that, they're going to be able to put on resumes and take with them if they're going to keep doing that print design after high school, knowing that Adobe software is going to be super helpful. But whatever you're using, just make sure you're checking out the resources available to you to learn the basics so that you can teach those to the students. Likewise, you're going to want to connect with whoever your printer is for the newspaper. and see how they need the final product delivered before you publish. So they might give you, set, bleed lines or specific things how they need the PDFs delivered to them. And again, each printer is going to be different. So just reach out, check with your printer. If you don't know who your printer is, and the building admin doesn't know, it would be a great opportunity to bid out printers. Check around, see who is available and willing to print high school publications, and see kind of, do they offer full color, spot color, no color, and what the different price ranges that are available on those different options are. And then if you don't have a printer lined up, you could maybe find a new one who will, be within your price range. Yearbook, if any of you out there are doing yearbook, make sure you know what company your school is publishing with and if they have an agreement in place with them. Once you know that, reach out to that yearbook company for your rep's contact info. Depending on what company it is, they'll have different reps. Some have different regions and things like that. But just reach out to the company in general if you don't know your rep already, and they'll be able to put you in contact. Your yearbook rep is going to have a ton of great information they'll be able to provide you in terms of things like, deadlines, what's possible, what has been done in the past, etc. So reach out to your yearbook company, get in contact with your rep. They'll be able to help get you going for the year. All right. A couple quick questions in the chat about snow. We do have an app for our newspaper. It's called the Student News Source app. It's an add-on. You can become part of that network. So if you want to check that out, you can download it in Google Play or the App Store. It's called Student News Source to see what it looks like. And then you cannot upload audio or video files to your Snow site. You need to get a third-party site, YouTube, Spotify, Google Drive, and then get an embed code, paste those in there. And we've got support articles on how to do that. All right, some more general resources for you. We have a Snow curriculum that's available. So this is free to access. And it is from the support page, actually. If you just go to support.snowsites.com and scroll down, it's in that second row there. And it has 5 different units that are available. We keep it pretty simple. It's not tied to any standards or anything like that, but every lesson has a Google slideshow and a Google Doc activity. So if you want to make any changes to anything that we have on there, you are free to make a copy of that presentation, and then you'll be able to edit however you need to. And if you're ever, running late or, have a surprise, kid got sick, dog got sick, you need to take the day off, these make some great sub lessons that you can easily plug in. And that is the free Snow curriculum that's available on our support site. So if you are starting out and don't already have your curriculum lined up or just want to supplement what you do already have, feel free to check that out. We have it there to help advisors as they are getting started. JEA, I believe, if you're a member, also has some curriculum that you have access to if you're a member. I mentioned those yearbook reps and how they can help get you started and get you pointed in the right direction about what you need to be doing when. They are also probably going to have some curriculum or various lessons that are available, maybe some guides on how to use their specific software that they're going to ask your students to use when putting the book together. So again, if you don't already know, reach out to your yearbook rep, and they are going to hopefully have a wealth of information for you and get you going in the right direction. The curriculum level is just kind of general. It's not separated at all by grade level. So again, if you find any of the content needs to be tweaked for middle school, feel free to make a copy of it and then, remove stuff, edit stuff. You're free to do that, but it'll hopefully at least give you a starting place there. This next group, I cannot shout out enough, and that is the Student Press Law Center. If you don't already have this site bookmarked, definitely take a moment to open up that tab that I just shared in the Zoom chat and bookmark this one. The Student Press Law Center provides free legal assistance for student journalists. So you can go to their site here and press the Get Legal Help button that's just right up at the top there. You can either send in a form and they will get back to you, and I think maybe they've done away with the phone line. It used to be, I'm old. Back when I was in high school, they had a phone line you could call and talk to somebody or leave a voicemail. I think it might all just be through the form here now. But if you have fear of your students being censored and you think it is not valid censorship, if you have any copyright issues you run into, any other type of legal concerns, you're contacted by a lawyer and, with a scary sounding letter or phone call, reach out to the Student Press Law Center. They will get all that information from you and they will assist you for free. So I cannot thank them enough for all that they do for student journalists from middle school all the way up through college. They are there to assist free of charge. And if you think that's as awesome as I do, they are a nonprofit entity, so they rely on donations to keep that going and keep their lawyers available for student journalists. So, Student Press Law Center, awesome organization. And then a quick detour while we're talking about Student Press Law Center. They are big advocates for what is called the New Voices Law. If you're not familiar with that term, it is basically means that your state has a specific law that protects student journalists from censorship. If you're not familiar with this, I won't go into all the nitty gritty details because you can actually check it out in our curriculums and the lessons. But one of the legal cases that had major repercussions in the 80s for student journalists was one called Hazelwood v. Kohlmeyer, which just gave building admin the ability to have prior review of what was going to be published. And then if they felt there was an academically valid reason, they could tell advisors and tell staffs, you can't publish that. Prior to that, as long as your site wasn't obscene, causing a disruption, printing anything that's factually untrue, or encouraging breaking of the law or school rules, you could publish it without fear of censorship from the administration. So any state that has enacted a new voice law has rolled their site or their state back to those previous terms where the administration cannot censor student press unless it does one of those 5 things I just mentioned. It's obscene, breaking a law, printing untruths. So you have a lot more protection there. So there are currently 18 states that have that law. And if you're not sure, that is available on the SPLC drop down there under advocacy. And you can hover over the state and get specific highlights for what is covered in your state. Sometimes there's advisor protections, sometimes there's not. Some states might have a little bit of coverage for private schools, but primarily this is dealing with public schools. And if your state is not currently highlighted, you can hover over it and kind of see where the advocacy is at for new voices in that state. And if you are so inclined to work to get involved, reach out to your state reps to try to get that ball rolling and hopefully get that enacted in your state. So if you are a new voices state, I would just encourage you to just familiarize yourself with what the law says in your state. And that's just going to hopefully help guide if your students have questions of, hey, can I publish this or not? That'll be one of the guiding factors for you, like more than likely. The last thing in terms of general resources here is an AP style book. If you don't have one in your class, I would encourage you to just get at least one in there. Maybe, and if you have some older ones, maybe get at least one copy of the newest one, just so you've got those new things, AI guidance and things like that are featured in the new style book. And there's a whole section about social media. So if you were like me, where I was kind of relying on the 7 or 8 style books that I inherited that were, a variety of older editions, it's always helpful to have at least one newer edition if you can swing it so that you can refer to it in the newsroom. Uh, Generally, in journalism, if you're not familiar with AP style, it stands for Associated Press style. And most newsrooms in the professional world kind of use that as their guidance for grammar, spelling, capitalization across a variety of terms. You can read all about that in the style book, and we've got a lesson in the SNO curriculum that kind of walks you through some of the basics there as well. But it's worth having that if, again, you can afford it to have and just share with your students as well. All right, so next we'll talk about just some ways that you and your staff might be able to get some awards or recognition for what they're doing. First, going back to those state press associations, they are likely going to have some state specific contests. Again, I know in Iowa, it was fall yearbook over the summer and then awarded in the fall, and then the spring newspaper contest that was awarded by the end of the school year. So you could, if you're looking to get recognition for like an individual really good story or an awesome photo or graphic that your staff has created, that's where you can hopefully find that more specific type of contest. You might have to be a member, or they might be open to everybody, but sometimes there's a contest fee. So some of these contests you do have to pay to submit for consideration. There's those national contests I mentioned before, the Pacemaker and then the Gold and Silver Crown from NSPA and CSPA respectively. So if you are a member of either of those organizations, you can research and check out how to submit if you wanted to get your publication out there and submitted for those high national level contests. If you are a SNO customer, we have Best of SNO, which is our writing award. And how that works is when you log into your SNO site, and those of you who have SNO, this hopefully looks familiar, you can go to the SNO badges tab here. And then when Best of SNO opens in mid-September, any eligible stories will show up on the eligible stories tab, and you can click to submit up to one story per day, Monday through Thursday. We get like 100 to 130 submissions per day, and we publish the top 10 to 15%. Those get republished to bestofsno.com. So even if you're not feeling ready to submit yet, but you're looking for contemporary examples of excellent student journalism, bestofsno.com is someplace that you can go. In addition to Best of SNO, we have 5 other badges that are available: audience engagement, multimedia, story page excellence, continuous coverage, and site excellence, all tied to different areas that we think good online news outlets should be adhering to. Those of you, I know we had some people sign up who've been with us before, and so you're not brand new. If you've ever participated in these badges before, we are in the process of updating the guidelines for those. So we're going to make a few kind of major updates. We'll be announcing those in early August, probably in the next couple of weeks here. And then once those are rolled out, you'll be able to click each badge and see those guidelines. These are still tied to the old guidelines, so I'm not going to go through them all because they are going to change here in a couple of weeks. But with Best of SNO, if your piece is not selected, you can't resubmit it, but you can submit another piece the next day. Again, you can submit up to one per day. So if you're not selected the first time, just keep trying. Don't get defeated. Some schools, it takes 10 or 15 submissions before they get one selected. So don't get down. Again, it's a very competitive program. With the other badges, if you submit for it and don't earn it the first time, it will get sent back to you in this badges tab, along with some written feedback from our reviewers about what you need to do to kind of bump it up to what we're looking for, and then you can resubmit. So with the other 5 badges, you can resubmit those as many times as you want until that badge window closes. So those other badges are open from early October until the last weekday in May. And again, you can resubmit as many times as you would need to. Best of Snow is open mid-September through the end of May, and those are free to participate in if you are a snow site. So if you're a snow site, then definitely would encourage you to give that a shot, those different badges. If you earn all 6 of those distinguished sites badges, you are what's considered a snow distinguished site. We'll send you a plaque, a letter to your principal, and a press release telling them about how awesome you are. And you can showcase it with a widget on your homepage as well to let your readers know that you've earned that status. And you will be recognized on Snow's award winners page on our corporate site as a distinguished site for the next school year as well. So those are the snow recognitions that you can participate in. Your yearbook company, again, check in with your rep and just see what they have available. I know some sites have, like a lookbook or, just a place where they highlight awesome spreads. Maybe they have, those monthly or seasonal story or photo or quick read contests that you could work with. So check with your rep and see what, if any, contests are available or recognition opportunities are available through their publishing company. Another option, if any of you are in the fortunate position to still have a local paper nearby, if you have published something really interesting, either at your school or maybe you just found an interesting story in the community, reach out to the local paper and say, hey, we published this last week, thought you all might be interested, and you might get republished there. And that's always a good feeling. I know when I was in high school, I had some photos I took that the local paper wasn't there to get, and they published them for me. And, it was awesome to see your byline on the front page of the local paper. So definitely check in with them or maybe the local TV station if you're doing any multimedia. So that's another way to kind of earn some recognition there. Thank you, Sean. That's a great question. For those who are a snow site to participate in Best of Snow or the badges, it's anybody who's an administrator level user on the site can submit for those badges. So if you want students to do it, they can. You just need to make sure you set them as an administrator on the site. For advisors, some recognition for you all. If you're a member of JEA, they have some certifications that you can earn. CJE and MJE, they stand for Certified Journalism Educator or Master Journalism Educator, respectively. And they require, I think CJE, if you've got your degree in journalism, and I think you've got a year of advising under your belt, you might be able to submit that and earn it. I got my CJE a long time ago, so things have likely changed since I last looked into this. But if you get it, you can add CJE to your email signature. And, it's kind of a nice thing to have for admin. They'll love to share it in the school newsletter that, our journalism advisor is a certified journalism educator. MJE, I think it requires a certain number of years advising. And then you also submit a project that you work on that's kind of tied to scholastic journalism. Both also have a test that I believe you have to take at a convention to get that designation. But if you are looking for something like that, JEA offers those certifications. And then there's also various journalism teacher awards. There might be some through the State Press Association. And then I know JEA and SPA, they have a lot of different awards that they give away for journalism teachers. So keep an eye out for those. If you have a mentor or anything, you might just subtly drop the hint that you've heard about this. And if you're doing a great job your first couple of years, they might be inclined to nominate you for those awards. So a couple of ways that you can get some recognition there as an advisor as well. Next, I want to talk a little bit about kind of web forward journalism. So if any of you are here who are yearbook or print only, just give me just a few minutes here, but hopefully most of you have a website. So some things to keep in mind when publishing for online journalism. I would say aim to publish 1 to 2 pieces every week, which I know that sounds like a lot, but really you can kind of stagger your publication schedule. So if I had 8 kids in class, I'd have 2 who were responsible for stories on week 1, two more for week 2, week 3, week 4, so that they're constantly working. They have a little more, each group has a little more breathing room, but when they're ready to go, it's like you're publishing new stuff every week. And then as the program grows, or as your students become more comfortable, they can take on a little more. And then that's just going to hopefully draw people to your site because they'll see you're publishing regularly. Incorporate interactive elements within your story. So polls, timelines, anything that's kind of clickable. Maybe, if you're writing a movie review, embed the movie trailer at the beginning or end so people can click and play. If you're doing an album review, get the preview built out in Spotify, get the embed code, drop that into your story. Anything you can do that makes it kind of clickable, it's just a little more engaging with the reader rather than just passively scrolling and reading. It'll also, those clickable things will hopefully help break up text on longer stories to make the page design just a little more appealing than just staring at a giant block of text. Make sure to share your URL and link wherever possible on the school's homepage. If you're in a bigger district, if the district will at all be willing to give you a link on their site, that would be great. If you can get your IT department to put a shortcut on the desktop, if students still use school-sponsored devices, and they can get that shortcut to your publication on there whenever a student logs in, that'll hopefully get you some traffic there. And then also, sharing out on your social media accounts whenever you publish a new story. Putting a QR code on a poster and then putting that up at the local grocery store or coffee shop or library so that members of the broader community can click and check out your site. So share those URLs and links wherever and whenever possible. If you're not already doing it, just explore some multimedia. Hopefully at least one person has a smartphone. That's all you need to be able to record podcasts or shoot video these days. And then, you do it the first time. Maybe it's not the best, but you learn from it. You do it again, and you kind of grow with it. So if you or your students have never tried multimedia, we've got 3 different photo, video, and audio categories in the SNO curriculum. And we've got a multimedia badge they can go for. So if you're wanting to try that out, just give it a shot. It's just a little more interactive and hopefully something that your readers will enjoy seeing on your site. Incorporate links within your writing. So embedding those links, kind of like I've got with copyright here, so that your readers, if they want, they can click and see where your reporters got their information. Not only does it make you more credible, but it gives your readers that portal to check out additional information should they want it. Be mindful of that story page design. Like I said, you don't just want a big block of text. Make sure you're breaking it up either with headers or pull quotes or just different, some secondary photos. Lots of ways that you can break that up, but try to avoid having just a big block of text and that one image at the top. And then this is one thing I've found, if you are an English teacher who's been told you're doing journalism, if you're not familiar at all with copyright law, just take a little bit of time to familiarize yourself with what you can or can't do when it comes to copyright. I do have our support article on that matter handy, because if you are not familiar with this, I had a conference with an advisor a couple of years ago, and he's like, well, in English, as long as you credit it, you're good to go. But you can't just your students can't just grab photos off the internet and use them in their stories. You can wind up in actually some legal trouble for that. So make sure you know what you can use. And if you want to, and this would be again another great sub lesson one day, I've got like a 40-minute conversation I did with Mike Eastand at the Student Press Law Center last summer, where I just kind of talked with him about some common issues that we see with our sites when it comes to potential copyright issues. And he clarified some things. So we've got that video at the bottom of the copyright article if you wanted to check that out or have your editors or your students watch that one. We talked a little bit about this, but just some ways to generate traffic on your site, not limiting yourself to the readers in the school. So going out into the broader community, putting up those posters for your site. If students' parents are on Nextdoor, maybe get them to share some links in there or something. But to keep those readers, then not just getting them to maybe click that link the first time, consider covering events not just in your school, but if you've got the bandwidth and the staff who's willing to do it, the wider community as well. What's going on with city council, or what's that new business that they're building on the corner of Main and First. And then those things that if you don't have a local paper, or that local paper is stretched so thin, they maybe aren't writing about this. You're going to get those eyes from the community, and hopefully they'll keep coming back. So they'll know, oh, this isn't just, who's homecoming king and queen at City High. This is what else is going on in the broader community there. If the local professional outlet missed a story, make sure to share it with them. They might republish it. And hopefully then, if they do, they'll link back to your site. Make sure you're using strong keywords in your headline and permalinks. So your headline is when I create a story, it's just whatever I put in the headline field here. And then the permalink is what's going to be in the URL or the web address there. So when Google searches, this is kind of the first place it looks, is the headline or the title of the post, and then that last word within those slashes on the URL. You can edit that. So if you've got, a really long headline that winds up with a lot of ands and thes within the title, you can take those out of the permalink here by editing it, and then just keeping that permalink solely those keywords that those Google and other search engine bots are going to grab onto to hopefully elevate you in results for anybody who's looking for a story on that topic. Publish regularly. We already talked about the importance of that and kind of staggering your staff with when their work is going to be done so that you're regularly putting stuff out there. My kind of rule of thumb, and it's in one of the badge guidelines, is after you've kind of published your first batch of content for the year, try to make it so everything on the homepage is no more than 3 months old. That's going to keep the site hopefully looking and feeling fresh there. And then if your staff is not as incentivized as you would like, consider entering some of these contests to hopefully push them to do that. But as I'm reading this, it's also, you can do contests to entice readers to come back and participate in your site as well. When I was advising, one thing we did every year, our paper was the Surveyor, and every Halloween we would do the Scareveyor contest. People would submit a picture of them in their Halloween contest, and we would have people vote on it in a poll. And like the winner gets a $15 Jimmy John's gift certificate. But that was one of the biggest things that our readers were most excited about that year. So any type of fun contest like that can be a great way to draw some traffic in from the student body. In terms of ways that you might make some money here, with Snow, we've got a Snow Donate program that you can opt into or out of. But if it's turned on, it just puts a donation prompt at the bottom of every story. And if you get any donations there, it's a 90-10 split. You keep 90% of the donations, and it'll go as either a credit towards your bill, or you can ask us to cut you a check. So that's totally hands off. If you're using Snow, it's just going to automatically put that donation prompt on there. That has been wildly successful. Some sites have paid close to, if not all, their entire hosting bill for the year through donations. If you don't have Snow, or if you wanted to just do this in conjunction with Snow Donate, GoFundMe, or other, oh shoot, I know there's one, somebody will help me out in the chat, I'm sure. Those ones that are specifically for classroom projects that people can donate to. So if you're looking to buy, a new slate of cameras, or you need 2 or 3 new computers, Donors Choose. Thank you so much. I knew it was out there. Thank you. Yeah, so do a Donors Choose. And any other way that you can solicit donations. Parents can be surprisingly generous. Along those same lines, you might consider starting a booster group. And some schools have found success with like a booster group similar to an athletic booster group. So they might be able to provide, food if you're still doing work nights at all. They can maybe do that, or provide transportation if that's become an issue. We can't afford buses anymore. Well, we want to make sure we can go to the conference or take a trip to the local paper and do a tour. They might be able to help with transportation there. So if you have any parents who are asking, how can I help? See if they'd be willing to get a booster group going, because if you can get that going the first year, hopefully it'll carry on year after year and might get bigger and bigger for you. Um, Advertisements. We have a snow ads program that will just put a banner that says, click here to purchase the ad space. And that's hands off advertising. Advertisers click that spot that they want to advertise in. They purchase it through snow ads. They work with our staff to give us the art, put it up, take it down, collect the money. Because it's a little work on our end, it's a bit of a heavier split there, but it's 70-30. But you keep 70% of any ad funds raised through snow ads. You can opt into or out of that at any time. We've got a support article on how that works. If you have the site booster, which is just that extra set of tools, you would have the snow ad manager, which allows you to do things like run groups of ads in a single spot that kind of just randomly rotate through every time the page is refreshed. You can also get ad analytics with the ad manager, and you can set start and stop dates on those ads. So rather than having to go back into the design settings and manually remove those, they will automatically go up and come down once those dates are no longer valid. Selling print ads, even if just a business card ad, but sometimes that can be a good source of revenue there. And maybe consider bundling and letting advertisers purchase across multiple issues and cutting a slight discount or something. But print ads are a great way to raise some revenue. Online ads, if you want to do it on your own, that's certainly something that you can do too. Even without the snow ad manager, it is possible to use our design tools to put ads wherever you want them, and then you just have to collect the money from the business there. You would keep 100% of the money that way, though. Gymnasium banner ads. I heard this from one of my colleagues in Iowa when I was working down there. She worked with her activities director, and they put up a big banner in the gym during basketball season that said, like, the Needle thanks our sponsors. And then the businesses could buy their logo on that banner. That's going to be, the place to be on Friday nights in that community. And people will see their business logo and know they're supporting the school community. So that's another thing that if you've got a good or an activities director that'd be willing to let you do that, that's definitely an option. Senior farewell ads in the yearbook, that is a huge thing. Those baby ads at the back of the book, where parents give you a cute picture of their senior when they were a baby and say, we're so proud of you, congratulations, all that good stuff. Those were always big money makers for me when I was a yearbook advisor. Parents love to be able to embarrass their kids. So that's another thing you could do. And then there's a program called SmugMug. It's a website, actually. And I think this now requires a subscription to do it. But if you have a lot of photographers and you're uploading a lot of photos with a SmugMug account, you can upload your photos there, and then customers can choose to purchase prints of those photos, and SmugMug will handle that. They'll mail them out and everything, and you'll get a cut of that revenue there. So if you've got some really good photographers and you're doing a ton of photography, you might look into that. I have it on mine because, again, back in my day, they had a free education account. I think they've since done away with that, so you would have to get the account yourself and pay for it month by month. So you'd have to determine if that was worth it to you or not. But that if you find yourself a lot, it might be a moneymaker. In terms of workflows, kind of the way you might want to handle assigning stories and then working through the process and getting them to their final stage. With print, step one is going to be kind of getting that pricing. Again, if you don't have a printer lined up, bid it out see what your different options are in terms of cost and what's available in terms of paper quality, color, etc. Determine how many issues you can publish with your budget. Work with your printer of choice to know then what deadlines your staff needs to meet uh, to have that issue at school when you want it. So, like, for example, if I wanted issue one to be out on August 31st, but I'm not back in school till mid-August, and the printer's going to need it a week before, those deadlines probably aren't going to line up. So make sure that you work closely to know how many days in advance you have to get those completed page design PDFs to the printer so they can get them on the truck and get them to your school so you can distribute when you want to. Once you kind of know those details, you can work backwards from there to plan the necessary deadlines of when do pages need to be done, when do stories need to be written, all of that stuff. On the web, we talked about how constant publication should be your goal. So once you've got the story written and edited, make sure it's no factual errors, it is ready to go. Get that published on your site. There are some advisors that like to hold on to their stories. It's like, well, we really want this one in print. Go ahead and put it in print. I'm sure I'm reading more and more that high school students like picking up that print product. Gen Z and Gen Alpha are kind of gravitating more towards analog experiences. They'll still read it in that print issue, but it's going to be most timely if when it's done, you get it out on the website now. And remember, with that web audience, you're probably going beyond the walls of the school, and those folks aren't going to have access to that print issue. So don't sit on content for the print issue. Once it's ready, get it on the website. That is our recommendation. With yearbook, if you are brand new and new to yearbook, it's not just all 200 pages of the book or due at one time. They split that up for you among multiple deadlines, usually 4 or 5 or 6 throughout the year, where X number of pages are going to be due. You'll send them in, then they're going to send you proofs so you can see what they look like and mark them up. So again, your rep is going to be really valuable in working with you to determine kind of, okay, how can we get 50 pages ready by the end of October? And they'll be able to talk you through and help you out with that. So work with your rep to set those necessary deadlines. Last thing I've got to say is if you are a yearbook advisor and the newspaper advisor and the news website advisor, consider some converged work here. Use all those great staff members to support every publication. Hey, if you've got a yearbook photographer and they went out and they shot 50 awesome photos at the football game, use those great photos, the ones you're not going to use in the book, to supplement, the newspaper or the web stories. In case your reporter at the game didn't get any good shots or maybe wasn't taking photos. You could also go beyond your staff here. I know, we see more and more stories on Best of Snow of students who are getting into sports photography and going out there and shooting things, football games, basketball games, etc. Reach out to those photographers and see if they would be willing to share their work with you for use in the student publication. If you're using those snow story elements, pull quotes, info boxes, etc., see if you can adapt that into a quick read that you could use in the yearbook. Consider, short links or QR codes throughout the yearbook or the print publication so people can scan those and read about it. Within the paper, maybe it gets them to where they can see an info box or, read this online to see a trailer for the movie at like a QR code at the bottom of a movie review. Or in the book, hopefully, website's still around 30 years from now. People will scan that QR code. If we're still using QR codes, who knows? But they can hop back to the website and, take a trip down memory lane that way. So having everybody kind of work together is going to give you the best possible, just ability to have as much coverage as you possibly can. So that was everything I had for you. Thank you all for taking some time on your Saturday to join. I hope you found this valuable. You can download a copy of these slides with all these links in there at snow.buzz/new advisor, capital N, capital A, advisor spelled ADVISERAP style there. So if you want a copy, go ahead and bookmark this or make a copy if you want to share it out. If you're a mentor sharing with a new advisor. But that's all I've got for you. If anybody else has any questions, please drop those in the chat. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your summers, and I hope you all have a terrific fall and school year.